Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Entertainment Chat, where I read your MCU theories. This might have been a bad idea to do this early on, because I don't have enough traction to actually get that many, and I finally did get some when I put a short out asking for your theories. I got seemingly one real theory, one maybe real. This might be a joke. I don't know about that one. And then one that's definitely a joke about Markiplier, which, okay. One that I think might have been written by AI. If you wrote that one and it's not AI, I'm sorry, but it's really reading AI. Either way, I'm going to read all 4 of these out because they're the only ones I got and they are interesting. So let's get right into it. Okay, starting with the first one, Loki doesn't exist. From at Chris-U1C. That's interesting. That's definitely an interesting theory. Because how would Loki not exist? Like, he saved the entire multiverse from, getting wiped out. So I don't know how it really makes sense that he doesn't exist, but like, okay. Let's say if he did not exist, what would that mean? Because, like, if he didn't exist, then someone has to be impersonating Loki to have saved the multiverse and also do all the crazy things that Loki's done. And also died to Thanos' hand. And the TVA has to somehow not know about it. So who would be impersonating him? Like, who would be the one doing that? I honestly have no idea. Genuinely, like, I don't know who would be impersonating a random Norse god. Or, I guess not impersonating, just, like, come up with the name of him or, like, the fake person. Because he wouldn't be impersonating him because he would have, he would just come up with him as, like, a person and become him. Yeah, I don't know who would do that or how it would really make any sense. But that was our first theory. And moving on to our second theory, there is a third hero who could wield Stormbreaker, Ant-Man. His whole thing is ants, so it fits that he would have a thorax. How does him, like, in ants fit him being able to wield Stormbreaker? I don't really see a connection. Do I think that Ant-Man is worthy? Not really. I mean, he hasn't really done anything that, well, I mean, he could be. Because, like, the crime he committed, it was for the greater good. Like, he was exposing, like, VistaCorp or whatever it was. And he was trying to, well, wait, what was it that he did? Hold on. Yeah, he was stealing from criminals, and he was exposing the home of the corrupt VistaCorp CEO. So that's what he was doing. Yeah. I guess he could be worthy of Stormbreaker. Like, we really haven't seen much to say that he's not, but he's not, like, a super, super good person in the way that, like, Captain America is. Thor? I guess Thor's not, like, a super, super good either. I mean, obviously, both him and Ant-Man are good people. So I guess, honestly, maybe? Like, I can't really think of anything that would be like, oh, no, he obviously can't wield it because of this. It's not really coming to mind, so it is definitely possible. I don't think there's a connection between Ant-Man's whole thing being ants and him having a thorax. That doesn't really make any sense to me. You know, like, I'm not really seeing any sort of connection there between those two things. So, oh, and that theory was from at David Lemasters 90814, by the way. Okay, moving on to our last theory actually about the MCU, which is pretty long. I do genuinely think that this is written by AI, but it is a theory and it has a lot to it, so might as well read it out and give my thoughts on it. It's from at United Imperium of Raiders. So here's what they wrote, or really what AI probably wrote. Again, if this isn't AI, I'm really sorry, but it does really read like it. We know the MCU is gearing up for Blade, and we've already seen the darker occult side of the world in Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night. But where did vampires actually come from? The logic. In the comics, vampires are magical in origin, the Darkhold. However, in the MCU, the Soul Stone is described as having a certain wisdom in controlling the essence of life and death. The sacrifice. To obtain the Soul Stone, one must lose that which they love. A soul for a soul. The corruption. The theory suggests that ancient humans thousands of years ago attempted to harness the stone's power without making the proper sacrifice. Instead of earning the stone, they tried to siphon its energy to achieve immortality. The result, the stone didn't give them life, it gave them undeath. It stripped them of their own souls while leaving them with an insatiable hunger for the soul essence, blood, of others to keep their physical forms from decaying. Why this fits the MCU. Red Skull's knowledge. It explains how Red Skull knew so much about the rules of the stone. He wasn't just a guide, he was guarding a power that had already backfired on humanity once before. The hidden history. Much like the Eternals or the Sorcerers of Kamar-Taj, vampires have stayed in the shadows because their origin is tied to a cosmic force which they can't control. Blade's conflict. It gives Blade more of a cosmic weight. He isn't just fighting monsters, he's fighting a literal corruption of the universe's natural order. Fun fact, in Avengers Infinity War, when Thanos uses the Soul Stone against Doctor Strange, it briefly pulls the true self out of the body. This confirms the stone has the specific power to manipulate the tether between a physical body and its spirit, the exact tether that is broken in a vampire. Okay, I actually think this is a good theory. Like, genuinely. This kind of, like, I could see this making a lot of sense. There's not been nearly enough vampire content in the MCU, as in, it's only been Blade and Marvel Zombies, for us to really have any sort of idea where vampires came from. Maybe they would have explained that in Blade, but I don't think that movie's ever going to come out, so we don't really have that to go off of. I do think this is a good theory, and it really does make sense. Like, I could see how it really makes sense. I would not be shocked if they kind of went with something like this, or went something similar to this, like the Soul Stone having a role. And honestly, it would be good to see the Soul Stone do something, because I feel like the Soul Stone is, like, the most forgotten Infinity Stone in all of the MCU. It doesn't really do much, you know? Like, in terms of like, when Thanos and the Avengers were using it, it was just one of the stones. Like, it didn't have its own thing to it, like how all of the other stones did. You know, like, well, I mean, it has its own thing to it. It's the Soul Stone, but, like, not a way where we see it used in that way, except for, like, that one fight between Thanos and Doctor Strange. So, it would be nice to see the Soul Stone get some actual use, and it does actually make sense. The only thing is that I think Marvel won't do this just because, like, they want to move away from the Infinity Stones. You know, we've already seen them doing that. They want to move away from, like, the past. So it wouldn't make sense to bring back an Infinity Stone in, like, such a large role. You know? Like, so that's why I don't think they would be doing that. I think they'll probably just make it the same as, like, their comic origin, which is from the Darkhold, which is a much more recent thing in the MCU, and even though it's gone now, like, it doesn't matter because vampires obviously existed before that. So I think it'll probably be, like, the Darkhold. I think the Darkhold will be where they came from, which makes the most sense, you know? But I do really like this theory, even if it may have been written by AI. So, the thing about vampires in the MCU, though, is, like, I don't know if we'll ever actually really see them. Which it really makes me sad, because I do want to see Blade in the MCU, but I really don't think that the Blade movie is ever going to come out. Which is really annoying, because that was, like, the one movie that they announced post-Phase 4 in 2019, and it never got released, and it probably won't ever get released. I wouldn't be shocked if it's been canceled by now, you know? So, maybe they'll include Blade some other way. Maybe they'll find some other way to include Blade in the MCU, which would be nice. That would be good. I hope they do that. I hope they find a way to include Blade. You know, because he did not deserve this. Oh my god, all these directors and writers and everything. It's crazy that Blade's first appearance was in Marvel Zombies and he was Blade Knight. It's so funny. Maybe, maybe Marshall will actually get to play him. And also, Blade has been in the MCU as Wesley Snipes. That's true. But maybe they can actually use Mahershala as Blade. Him saying there's only going to be one Blade. Maybe it'll actually come true. Maybe he'll be right. Maybe it'll actually come true. You never know. So that was every theory we got for the MCU. And since we got so little, I thought maybe I would give a theory of my own. I don't think that Tony Stark will be in Avengers Doomsday in any form. I don't. I really think RDJ is just going to be Victor Von Doom, and they're going to save Tony Stark for Secret Wars, because they want to save some things for Secret Wars, just like how they saved some things for Endgame. And I think that will be one of the major things they save, will be like, oh, an Iron Man variant in Secret Wars, but not Doomsday. Or maybe, like, they'll have an Iron Man variant at the very end of Doomsday. I don't think that's really likely, but they might do that instead. But yeah, I genuinely don't think we're going to see any form of Tony Stark in Avengers Doomsday. I think they're going to, for Doomsday, try to focus on the characters that have been announced already back in the Chairs announcement, which was a year ago now. Oh my god, the Chairs announcement was... Oh my god, the Chairs announcement was a year ago. That's insane. And this movie is still like 9 months away. But yeah, I think they're going to put their focus into the characters from there, and they're not going to really do much multiverse cameos, except for, like, maybe some more of the X-Men. But yeah, that's really my main MCU theory that's going on right now, is I don't think there will be any sort of Tony Stark in Avengers Doomsday. I think maybe they'll do a thing where the Avengers or someone thinks that Doom is Tony Stark. They'll probably do that, but it's not going to be Tony Stark. It's going to be Victor Von Doom, who just is RDJ. That makes the most sense. Like, I don't think they would do Tony Stark Doom, because people would hate that. They know that people would hate that. I'd be really shocked if they did that. Now watch them do that and me be wrong, and me eat my own words. That would be bad. And, okay, we do still have this Markiplier theory that we got, which I think is funny. I don't watch Markiplier, so I can't really say much about it, but I'll read it out anyway. From @Coryupt. Okay, so I think Darkiplier is doing his entire journey to remake the world because people and humans are idiots, and every time he helps someone, they just ended up killing people and stuff, and... Wait, you don't mean Markiplier Connected Universe, do you? So I have no idea who Darkiplier is. I mean, just based off of reading this, it seems like it makes sense. Is Darkiplier a real, like, Markiplier lore thing, or is this just something this guy made up? I have no idea, but this explanation does make sense for a villain arc, so I wouldn't be shocked if that was it, but there's really no way for me to know. I'm not really interested in watching Markiplier, so I guess I'll just leave that one to you guys. And that's all the theories we got, so thank you for listening to this episode of the Entertainment Chat, and goodbye.